We're broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios.
Visit MTE.com.
Middle Tennessee Electric, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the WGNS Action Line, talking with Rutherford County newsmakers
since 1947.
The WGNS Action Line. Now, your host, Scott Walker.
And with us from Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue, we have Chief Mark McCluskey. How are you?
Doing good.
Has it been like insanely busy over the last couple of weeks?
It has, with the weather coming in, last Saturday morning, calls started, kind of slacked off since that time. But yeah, we were hit with a large amount of calls whenever it first hit.
What were, I guess, some of the most average calls or the most regular calls that you got during all this ice and snow?
Well, during this time, we had a lot of vehicle crashes, people getting out, getting to their places. It seemed like after the first day that kind of settled down, but we got a lot of CO detectors going off. I think a lot of people are using an alternative heat that was setting their CO detectors off. So we did get some calls on that. And a few power lines down. We had, mainly it was from the street to the house where the neighbors' limbs may have fallen and disconnected their service.
I know that there were some areas of Tennessee where they had absolutely no electricity for, the whole week. And I think some are still rebuilding and still trying to get electricity. Well, Nashville's one of them. They still have a lot of areas out.
They do. If you happen to be watching the radar as that storm come through, Rutherford County was just right on the border, so we actually kind of dodged a bullet, even though it was bad here, but not as bad as it could have been. We got more snow than freezing rain.
I know, McNairy County, they had a huge number of issues, and they even had, in fact, some areas close to us had that issue with water treatment plants. People had to boil their water and all that. But, yes. Man, there were a lot of things going on all at once.
It was, and we was fortunate here that we had no major incidents like that ourselves.
When you respond to accidents in the ice and snow, from what I saw, at least over the past week, it didn't look like there were too many very serious injury accidents, but did you see any?
We had a couple, but nothing real serious, but you have a lot of vehicle crashes. Typically, the speed of the vehicles are a lot lower going in this ice, but running off in the ditch, hitting trees or something like that was a lot on the interstate. And when people call them in, they're not sure if someone's hurt or not, so we still for sure respond to that.
Yeah, the ones on the interstate, that would scare me because folks think that there's no ice because they've cleared the interstate, but then you have those, the black ice that's on yes. certain areas, and I'm sure that led to some major problems there. But yeah, and you guys respond to interstate accidents. Just I don't know from what exit to what exit.
We cover from Joby Jackson all the way down to 840.
Okay, that's a pretty good distance.
It's a pretty good stretch, yes. And we did have several of those accidents from the black ice also. After they got the roads cleared up, some of it melted and refroze. So, yes, we did have the black ice, later on the next day, but had several just because of the snow at the time.
I can't imagine, from the patient standpoint, being a victim in a car accident of some sort, and it's already so cold outside. But gosh, if emergency responders had to cut off your shirt, cut off your something along those lines,
yes,
it had to be freezing.
And we do take the weather in consideration. We keep blankets in our units, and make sure our patients, if we do have to do that we cover them up well afterwards.
Man, it was bitterly cold out there, and like I was telling you before going on the air, I don't remember having wind chills at -11, but you were saying a couple of years back there was a point where you responded to a call where it was like -20 or something.
That's been several years ago. I remember the fire was on Van Cleve Lane, and it was pretty sure it was around 20 below the wind chill that factor was at that time. And that was one of those fronts that come through. It was only cold for a day or two, then and moved on. But this here has been around for a little while.
What kind of problems do you have with water coming out of those hoses whenever you're fighting a fire and it's that cold?
Well, you always got to keep it moving. When it's that cold, our engines, that's one thing that we do keep them inside, which is a benefit, but we'll have to drain our pumps. And by draining the pump, it will not freeze from the fire station to the fire or sitting there, so it's no water in there. Yeah, you have to watch out for stuff like it. You just got to keep it moving. It's got a circulator built into those pumps that keeps the water moving if you're not flowing it. So it's something we definitely have to watch out for.
So if you have, let's say, a car fire on the side of the road or something, and you obviously put the car fire out using water, will it be days before a wrecker service could actually pick up that vehicle?
Normally they'll come and they can use their winch to get it out of that icy spot. And I have witnessed and have been on like scenes like that. We'll have to call out the street department to salt that area down, especially on cold days when you don't have anything on the road far as ice or snow, and we have a car fire and the water runs off and then causes an ice. So call the street department in and put some salt down.
Yeah, that'd be rough. And I didn't even think about, well, that water's going to freeze on the roadway too,
Yes.
wherever you're putting the fire out.
That's true.
So that's a lot to be up against all at once.
Sometimes it can be a challenge.
So what else were some of the calls? Because for folks, for example, without electricity, well, you had some older people out there who didn't have electricity for a short time in the Murfreesboro area. And what do they tell you?
We have had those calls to where people may be on some kind of device that's for their health, that they lose their power. I don't think we had any at this time during this storm, but we have some generators that we typically can maybe run to them and get them going. And we also work with Middle Tennessee Electric to be sure that they're a priority to get their power back on.
I guess some people who are on oxygen, I mean, that's a big problem.
Yeah. Oxygen now, it's kind of portable, a lot of rechargeable batteries, so that does help. But there are some people like on maybe home dialysis and stuff like that, maybe some kind of monitor or something for their hearts. You do have a few of those that have to have that electricity.
Regardless, no matter what, I mean, it's harder on everybody when you're dealing with that cold weather. I mean, on the firemen especially.
For sure. It's always harder. You got to try to stay warm, and with the extra clothing makes our job harder to do, and all the bulk clothes and just cold weather itself, it takes a toll on your body.
I had a question here. How did power outages across parts of the city affect your call volume or the types of emergencies you responded to? And I know you pretty much already answered that, but did you see a big increase in the call volume?
Oh, yes. Starting out the storm come in early Saturday morning, but that's Saturday morning when it started building up. We did have an influx of calls. As far as the electricity out, we did not have that many here. And like I said, we didn't have any trouble with our provider electricity going out. It was normally from the street to the house where maybe a tree had fallen or some limbs and knocked out the service to the house. Middle Tennessee Electric was good about getting here and doing that. And I think we might have had one where it ripped the service out of the house to where they were unable to have that fixed that day. So we brought Red Cross in and got them a shelter provided.
I know we talked to Middle Tennessee Electric on that Tuesday after everything really hit, and they were talking about how their biggest area that was hit was Williamson County. And from the map, it looked like, Leapers Fork, that area where there's a whole lot more trees and everything.
Yes, I did notice that on the map. They got a lot more freezing rain than we did, and it just curved up around Rutherford County, which, like I said earlier, that was great for us, but not good for other people. But yes, Williamson County had a lot of power outages. I was watching something on the news talking about how much it weighs on the tree. It was. I didn't realize it was that much weight, but it's obvious that it's a lot of weight to pull those limbs down into trees.
Yeah, we heard stories about, exploding trees is what people called it, but
yes.
I guess the ice was really that heavy on them.
Yes, I saw something that was like, if it was 2 inches thick, how many thousands of pounds, but I didn't know how they were measuring it, but it was definitely a lot of weight. But yes, most trees, when you start putting that weight and the way it's pulling down, it's not going to take it.
No, it was wild because some people, I think, caught it on video, and
yes.
it was loud too.
Yes, and you break a tree branch, a small one in your hand, you can imagine one that's 12 inches round and breaking. So yes, it's very loud.
So out of the calls you responded to, did you go to more medical related calls, or did you go to more fire calls or accident calls?
Not necessarily medical, which we still do have a normal medical calls. Cold weather like this tends to make people not to call as quick as they normally would because they don't want to get out in the cold. So the medical calls sometimes will go down during these kind of events, but other calls go up. Like I mentioned, the car accidents, the carbon monoxide detectors going off, just frozen water lines, especially in our businesses where they have sprinkler systems. This cold weather will find that little spot that needs to be insulated. Yes, our call volume, I think that Saturday, I was pulling some numbers and looking at it, we had our typical day is we average around 70, 75 calls a day, and we was up over 170 that day.
Wow. I know some people were trying things like bringing, portable heaters inside their house, and that's one of the most dangerous things you can do, like portable kerosene heaters, propane heaters. I mean, that causes a major issue right there.
Yeah, any kind of open flame you're trying to heat with like that, obviously using your oven to try to heat's dangerous. And if you are using some type of kerosene heater that's pretty safe for the house, don't fill it up in the house. Always take it outside to fill it up and stuff. I know I used my gas logs a lot while I was off here, on the weekends. It was nice to have those for an alternative heat.
And those really do heat pretty well. I mean, they do a lot better job than I think a lot of folks think. But I was thinking, man, it'd be nice to have a wood-burning fireplace right now. But then I thought, I'd mean have to go outside and get the wood.
Yes, that's true. The burning actual fireplace that use real wood, they're nice and smell good and sound good and all that, but those gas logs are awful convenient.
Yeah.
Just turning a switch on and you got them.
Now, looking back at the auto accidents, this person said we saw numerous auto crashes, cars sliding off the roadways. How often were fire crews involved in those types of responses over the past week?
If the call comes in and if there's someone hurt or maybe someone hurt, we are responding for medical and for extrication and just to check the vehicle out for leaks and stuff like that. So we pretty much respond to every one of them, unless it's just a little minor fender bender that they need a police report. Other than that, we are responding.
When you're using tools, some of them are rechargeable tools, do those batteries, do they stay fresh? Do they keep, whatever you're using charged when you're out there in the cold?
Yeah, maybe you don't get as much life out of them, but they still stay charged good. And also, they're fully charged all the time. We have extra batteries on the truck that are being charged the whole time.
Okay.
So if while they're sitting at the station going down the road or whatever, those batteries are maintained in charge all the time.
Now, have Murfreesboro fire crews, have any of their vehicles experienced any issues like running off the road in the ice or any problems like that?
I think we had one truck that kind of slid off the road and got stuck. We was able, without having to call a wrecker, to get it out. But other than that, we didn't have any incidents ourselves. Of course, our drivers are well trained. Even though you want to get there fast as you can, you got to use the common sense what you're driving on with the ice and the snow. We're no good to the people that we're going to if we cannot get there, so we have to be cautious on ourselves.
Now, are those the fire trucks themselves? Do you have some that are 4-wheel drive? What are they usually?
No, we can usually get around a little bit better than most vehicles due to the weight of the truck, the type of tires we run, and also some of them have chains that come down out from under the truck and they're little slinger chains. And go up under the tires as they go too.
I know there's some ambulance services out there. I don't think Rutherford County has it, but they use the F450 frame and they've got 4-wheel drive on the ambulances. But I'm not sure what we have here. They
do, and most of our say passenger vehicles we use, our trucks and cars, they are 4-wheel drive. We typically try to buy a 4-wheel drive for these types of situations.
Now, were there any problems with people trying to pass waterways that, the water was too high? Because I think it was in the county on Elam Slab Road, there was a water rescue because somebody tried to drive through what was flooded.
We didn't have any here in the city. I do recall that call you're talking about the county had, but we didn't have any in the city during this time.
When you're working with a patient out there, and you're the first on the scene and they're out in the cold, out in the elements, how quickly does hypothermia set in for people? Well,
of course, that depends all in the temperature and the person, but it can set in pretty quick. And, of course, when we make these type of calls, that we take that in consideration. We got to get this, not only treat them for their injuries, but keep them from getting more injuries due to the weather. So that is taken in consideration.
And with hypothermia, from what I understand, I mean, once that starts to set in, the person's not thinking right. I mean, it's almost
That's
like
correct.
working with a dementia patient.
You're exactly right. It can mess with your mind to where you don't make good decisions.
That's got to make it even tougher.
It can.
Especially if it's a younger person.
It can. You just got to, in our training, this is something you don't deal with all the time, but you got to kind of refresh your memory on this stuff and then treat the patient.
With fire hydrants that are scattered throughout neighborhoods, is there a fear of those freezing to where you can't get water from them?
No, we don't have much trouble with that. We have a type that cuts off way down under the ground and drains. So they're below the frost line or the freeze line. So we don't have any trouble with that. You do see that in some southern states to where it gets real cold and their hydrants freeze up. They use a different type of, they use a wet barrel is what it's called, where the water comes all the way up to the hydrant itself. Ours shuts off down underground.
Yeah, that would be a big problem.
Yes, it could be.
I mean, gosh, 30 years ago, I don't know what we had back then, but I could see where years past that would be even a bigger problem.
It could have been, the wet barrels are the ones you see in the movies when the hydrant gets hit and the water starts squirting out of it because the water's right there at the top of the ground. To where ours, when a car runs over them, you don't see water squirting up because they're cut off way down under the ground.
I never even thought about that.
It's kind of like a frost-free faucet.
Yeah.
It's got that long rod that goes up and shuts off up inside the house where it'll stay warm.
Yeah.
The fire hydrant's basically the same thing. It goes down in the ground and shuts off.
Well, that makes more sense then. I never dawned on me.
Yeah, and that's referred to as a dry barrel. So
interesting. Let's see if we have any more. Somebody asking about the carbon monoxide awareness. It says during the storms and prolonged power outages. Okay, so with the carbon monoxide calls that you got, were there any situations where you had to say, you guys need to get out of the house or anything like that?
Yes, we can. Yes, we did. We did have some of those calls where they were actual legit calls with the carbon monoxide. We can pinpoint the source mostly, do away with that source, and we'll air out the house and monitor it till it's clear enough for someone to come back in it. If it's something that's a gas appliance that's causing it, we can get a hold to the gas company. They'll usually come out and check on it and fix what might need to be fixed. Or it could be something that is wrong with the appliance and may have to get an appliance person to come out and fix it. But we can usually pinpoint the source and determine if it's a false reading that you're getting or a real reading.
And so what is usually causing that in the cold weather?
It could be several things, but here lately it's the type of heating. People coming in with maybe some old like kerosene heaters or something like that, hadn't been used in a while, not burning that clean. Maybe something that's a very old heater that's just don't burn as good as they do now, and to set those off. So
people were literally bringing in heaters that may have been meant for outside, in a garage or something like that.
Because not saying these heaters are safe or unsafe, but they're typically better in an open atmosphere. And they're built to burn clean, but there's nothing keeping them from not burning as clean as they need to and putting off that CO. And that's one of those things where you fall unconscious before you realize the reason why, I guess. It is. I can remember a call. It's been several years back. Someone was on a tow motor that was propane, and they were in a warehouse doing work, and they got overcome by it because it was a cold day. They had all the doors shut, and he was in there for a good while and got overcome by it. Wow. Yeah. And it happens fairly quick, doesn't it? It can, yes. Mm-hmm. Do you smell it at all? No, it's an odorless gas. So it's not like natural gas that has that foul egg smell to it? Well, natural gas, the foul smell is from a raw gas. It's something they put in there, but after it burns, you don't smell that, but it could be putting off the CO. I guess I didn't even realize that. Yeah, because you could have, just like our gas logs we was talking, when that gas is raw coming into that fireplace, if it was leaking the gas without burning, we'd smell that propane smell or the egg smell that they put in. But after it burns, if it's not burning clean, we won't smell that egg smell, but the CO is coming out and it's odorless.
Yeah. I never heard that. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Again, with us this morning from the Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Department, we have Fire Chief Mark McCluskey on the air with us. And if you have any questions, you can text those to us at 615-893-1450. So as things kind of start to thaw out this week, is there, or do you expect to see an increase in any particular calls? I mean, will folks find out things are all of a sudden wrong with their house they didn't realize?
We will have a few of those calls. People that may have busted water pipes. That's the biggest thing right now. What we'll get notified a lot on, because some people, if they have a busted pipe at their house, they're not going to call the fire department. They realize that that's the deal. But now in commercial buildings where they have sprinkler systems, the pipes may be frozen that first warm day where that starts unthawing. When that water moves in that pipe, it sets off their alarm, and it's usually a crack pipe or something like that. And we'll be making several of those calls, which we've already made a few of them, but we see it all the time. It's like it turns off real cold for a few days, then when it gets warm, they all hit in the same day. Everything starts warming up, and we'll have that for a day or two till they can get repaired and back to normal pretty much.
Did we have any major house fires occur because of people's, source of heating during this time?
I can't recall if we've had a couple of 3 house fires here during this time. I think one of them may have been related to heating, but others were just normal, house fires that not normal, but just your typical things that start house fires.
I know one of the things that people don't really do every year, and they should, is check that chimney before they start a fire in their fireplace. And next thing you know, there's a crack in the chimney that could lead to a fire of, I don't know what happens first, the insulation, or if it's the drywall that catches fire, or what happens. It's
usually from not being cleaned well. All the creosote builds up in it. We don't have those as much as we used to. Most homes now that they're building are putting gas logs in, so you don't do that. But we still do have some of the older homes where somebody moves in and the person that lived there before didn't burn the fireplace for years, and they decide to burn it and stuff like that. But yes, we still do have those. Is
gas overall, is that pretty safe? Because I still know a lot of people today, who were born in the 60s and 70s, and they have this underlying fear of having gas in their home. But I think a lot has changed since that time period.
It has. The equipment that it's burning the gas is a lot safer now. Got a lot of built-in safety items built into it. But yes, typically it is safe. But you still have those accidents every now and then, maybe small leaks or something not operating correctly and setting off some alarms. But for the most part, it is safe.
We're going to take a short break, and then we will be right back. And if you have any questions, all you have to do is text those to us at 615-893-1450. And if we haven't gotten to your question yet, we'll get to it in just a second. But again, you can text your questions to 615-893-1450. Again, talking with Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Chief Mark McCluskey this morning.
This message brought to you by the Central Tennessee Regional Solid Waste Planning Board. Visit RecycleRightTN.com for tips, ideas, and locations on where to recycle near you.
Don't be trashy, recycle classy, recycle right, Tennessee.
Recycling isn't just about tossing materials in a bin, it's about knowing which materials are accepted. Go to RecycleRightTN.com.
Recycle right, Tennessee.
35 years. That's how long your family has trusted my family to care for your pets. Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City. From the entire team here at Animal City, we want to say thank you, Murfreesboro, for allowing us to be your local pet and pet product experts. We have grown up with you, and we're grateful. Stop by and celebrate 35 years of local love with us. Animal City, it's more than a store, it's our home. Animal City, 919 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro.
This is Peter Demas, and our family is inviting your family to come eat with us at Demas's restaurant. The salmon is my favorite, and then we have a variation that's on a regular menu for the salmon imperial that has some Alfredo, some crab, some shrimp on it. But the salmon is fresh, and we cut it fresh, but all of our fish you can either get blackened or you can get it with our regular seasoned salt, and either way you do it is just out of this world. And I'm not a fish person, but I will eat it at Demas's all the time. come eat with us at Demas's Restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
This is Bud Rakes, former principal of Smyrna High School. I'm a resident of Adams Place, and I recommend that you come and visit us here at Adams Place. It's a great place to be. The people that work here, all of them are very nice, and I never have met one that was not. And, of course, I would encourage anyone, if they're looking for a place, to look at Adams Place, because they'll have a hard time beating it.
Adams Place, on Memorial across from Walmart.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
With us this morning, Murfreesboro Fire Rescue Chief Mark McCluskey. And one of the questions we had texted in, it was asking overall over the past week, Murfreesboro has seen from mild winter weather to dangerously cold weather. How would you describe the overall demand on Murfreesboro Fire Rescue during this stretch? I guess were you guys having to call in extra people or what was happening?
We did call in a couple extra crews for about 3 days just to make sure we got through this tough part of this weather. Like I said, our call volume went up during this time a little bit, mainly the first day, and kind of slacked off after that back down to normal. So we did bring in 2 extra crews. When I say extra crews, that's 2 more fire trucks in service running calls just to help provide backup service for the ones that may be tied up, say, out on a tree limb down, and then they have a medical call, so we'd have people able to respond. Our EOC was set up down on West College Street. We kept a couple of people there in their EOC. It's the Emergency Operations Center, police, fire, street departments, highway department. Everybody's in there coordinating what's going on in the county. We get calls in, we can get them to the right people at the right time. May not be an emergency call, but just take care of stuff and keep up with what's going on in the county where we may need to send additional resources and stuff. And we actually brought in a couple people to work in that EOC extra, because we needed the people that would normally be in there on the streets too. So we did bring in a few extra people.
If I recall correctly, I think this happened the same week, this past week. Did 911 services go out, or maybe it was for the sheriff's office for a short time, or was that the week before all of this hit?
It was, let's see, you're drawing my memory here. That was a different time it had went out.
Okay.
And it was, I'm trying to think exactly what started it, but it was not out very long. And when it's out, we have backups in place, but the main one was out. So we did not end up without any kind of 911 service. The backup was in place.
Were there any injuries among the firefighters in this cold weather?
Well, that's funny you mentioned that. We had one injury. We had a couple of falls and stuff like that to be expected, but no major injuries. But one of our guys the other day, after going through all this weather, and then come in, and he broke his finger getting on the truck. I was like, how did you do that? He's like, you've been out here in all this ice, working all these people working overtime, and you come in the next day getting on the truck inside, and you break your finger. Somehow he was putting his gear on the truck and hit something and broke his finger.
Man.
So, but I mean, that wasn't really weather related, but your slip, trips, and falls in these icy conditions. We had a few of those, but nothing serious, no serious injuries to our guys.
I heard about it was a compound fracture somebody suffered. It was, I think, at the ankle. I think it was a county over, though. But, man, I can't imagine that kind of pain. When it's already so cold outside, you fall on the ground and you're sitting there for, however long it takes for the emergency crews to get there.
Exactly. I've seen some nasty breaks during these kind of conditions.
Do we have anything like that here?
I don't recall of any of those calls. I hadn't heard anybody talking about them, but I'm sure we had some. Yeah,
man, that would be rough.
Yes.
And then also things you got to think about that you really don't think about when it's not this cold and icy are things like at-home nursing services that usually provide care to patients during regular weeks, but some of them were not able to go in to help out some of those who they usually help out, like hospice even.
Yeah, sometimes we do have those calls, people that need daily treatments and stuff or whatever it may be going on with them. The home health nurse cannot make it, hadn't been there in a couple of days, and they have to have something done, and they will end up dialing 911 and having to go to the hospital. So those kind of calls do go up some.
And that's got to be heartbreaking at times because that they've got to get to a hospital and the care they would have received at home with that home health nurse or hospice, I mean, they're not coming.
Yeah, it just, this type of weather puts a big damper on a lot of things a lot of people don't think about.
I can imagine. Does this emphasize an importance to have another fire station open?
Yes and no. I mean, you can't justify it off of 1 week's weather, but,
Sure.
We were able to call the people in and we provided the coverage, was able to make every call like we needed to. Someone asked me the other day, right when this weather's hitting, said, what did y'all have to do to prepare for this weather? And I was like, nothing, we don't prepare for it. We're already prepared. If we're not prepared for it, we're too late.
Yeah.
It's just things that we do prepare for, and you have to see how they play out to see what you need as you go. And when I say play out, it's like, okay, here it goes. We need a couple of more trucks in service, which was no trouble to put in service for us. So we always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. You've heard that before, but there is really nothing that we could do as far as equipment and everything else and preparing people than we already are.
I know a couple of months ago when you were on the air with us, you were talking about deciding on where that next fire hall would be built and all that. Are you any closer now working with the city council on putting a name to the location of where that next fire hall will be?
The one that we are in the process of moving forward with right now is going to be on Veterans Parkway. That is out close to TOA. It's across the street from it, next door to, I think it's Federal Ascend Credit Union. It's in the corner of where the new parks, Veterans Park's going to be. We're down in the corner of that lot facing Veterans Parkway.
Have they already started clearing land for that?
What they have done so far is they've had some geotech checking on the ground to see, how stable it was and stuff. But now where the Parks and Rec are starting to move dirt, they have been bringing the dirt over to build the slab up.
Ordering fire trucks for that new station. I know in the past you were talking about how sometimes it takes as long as 2 years to get a fire truck.
That is correct. We went in front of council. It's been probably about a month or so ago now, a little bit over a month, and we got approval and ordered the new truck for that station, along with 2 other ones that will be replacing trucks here in town.
Those will be coming, it sounds like, about the time that it's ready to open.
That's correct. The first one will be here, I think it was somewhere 28 to 32 months. Then the other 2 after that were a little bit longer.
Now, are we at a point where we are going to see one of those larger fire trucks where, you also steer from the back of it just like you do from the front?
Possibly, when you start getting bigger buildings in your city that it's tighter to get around to because your streets are only going to be so big, those type of trucks that you're talking about makes it easier to get through the city. I have talked about it and looked into it amongst our department to see what we may need for the future, because it's like you got a plan right now for 5 years down the road, because if we decide this and see what's coming with the buildings that are being built downtown in order, it's 2-3 years before you get it. So it's something we're definitely looking at.
Does Nashville, do they have those types of trucks?
They do. They have, I think, 3 of them, I believe.
And those are much larger, I guess, than what we normally see.
It is. We're to the point with our trucks now, we're about as big as we can get to make it through the downtown area, or any, when I say just the downtown area, or most places maneuvering around the city. These types of trucks we're talking about makes it a lot easier. It steers from the back, and you can turn down a road or something about like a car can, because you can steer that back in out.
All the new neighborhoods that are being built, we're seeing a lot more townhome type subdivisions where homes are a lot closer together. Is that presenting any problems at this point?
Well, it can, because we have a project going on right now. It's in planning that it's in the downtown area, and it's pretty much a whole block, and it's 5 stories tall. So that's the kind of stuff that we need to plan for in the future with this truck we're talking about, to be able to get to those areas like that, because the streets are not going to get any wider, but the building's going to get bigger. So it's something we definitely got to look at for the future.
And I guess when they build buildings like that, are they supposed to put a firewall in between each unit?
Yeah, they have to meet fire codes depending on the type of construction, and not only just inside the building, the fire lanes outside, all that's fire codes where we got to be able to get to the building. You're talking about fire stops and stuff. Yes, that'll all be involved in the fire codes when they build something like that.
So when you hear words like fire stops or firewalls, what does that mean?
A typical firewall is, let's say if we live in a duplex, let's say you have a side and I have a side. Well, that wall that divides us has to be a firewall. So if my side catches on fire, it does not travel over into your side, and it contains it.
Bricko block and who knows what else could be possible.
Sheetrock is a good firewall. You can double it up, makes a good fire block, but also brick or any kind of stuff like that. There's certain different things you can do. It's got to have a certain rating. Of course, if you walk into places, sometimes you may see something painted on the side of a wall. It says 2-hour firewall. If you see that, that is a wall that's built to hold fire in for 2 hours. And typically the reason they do that so people will know, so when somebody comes in and is trying to run an electrical line or something, they don't drill through that wall.
Yeah.
Or if they do, you got to put fire caulk back into it to get it back to that rating.
Those are things I guess homeowners don't think about when they're buying a house.
In residential homes, the fire department itself does not go out and inspect for fire codes in that house, but the codes department does. Like there's fire blocks in your house that you probably don't realize it. So the codes inspectors that build the house, framing inspection stuff, all that's looked at inside that.
Got one last question, even though we have like 20 seconds left. What do I do with a used fire extinguisher? It's about 40 years old, but it's been sitting in my kitchen. So what do they do with a used fire extinguisher?
Well, if it's an old brass one, it may be collectible, but other than that, make sure it's discharged and just dispose of it.
Go spray what's left of it?
Yeah, if it will come out. If it's that old, it's probably not going to.
Again, Murfreesboro Fire Chief Mark McCluskey with us this morning. Well, thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.